Hello, Oracles. Well, what can we expect from the market this week? This week is a couple of big things that we have going on right now. We've got NVIDIA earnings that are going to be coming out. That's going to give us some insight as to what's going on in the world of AI. Is this going to be a kind of a sell the news situation where we finally get NVIDIA's earnings and then we continue selling off? We saw a bit of a sell off on Friday going into close. Pretty much the entire day was kind of selling down. So was that going to continue, or was that a little bit of a sell-off leading into NVIDIA's earnings, and then we're going to continue going back up? We'll take a look at the Fear and Greed Index, and then at the end of the week, we do have the PCE data coming in. That is the number one source for the Fed likes to use for their inflation data, so we'll get that information on Friday as well. Now, before we get into it, I should be getting kind of back to my routine. Sorry for the last month. I've had some inventories going on at work and just a lot of other things going on. I was in South Carolina for a couple of days last week, so should be getting back to my routine right now. So it should be a couple of videos and then a live stream on Thursday evenings. If anything changes, I'll keep you posted, but should be back on schedule going forward from here. I'm really focused myself right now, and I'll get into the video in a minute, but I kind of refocused while I was in South Carolina, kind of get my alignment back. I'm getting back into my hiking. I'm going to be getting back to health and fitness. I got to the highest weight I've ever been at about 215, which is a lot for me. So pulling that down, I'm down to 207 right now. I'm going to continue pulling that down. Goal is 185. If you guys like health and fitness, let me know in the comments below, because to me, when it comes down to it, is you can't enjoy your wealth without your health, because you can have all the money in the world, but if you're laid up in a hospital or can't enjoy it, what does it even matter? So I like to take care of my health, and it's kind of time for me to get back into that. But anyway, I'll move on. All right, so looking at what we have going on this week, again, we've got the Fear and Greed Index at 35. And as I had mentioned before, we kind of were looking at going from extreme fear to neutral and back down, and haven't really seen greed much since last year, basically the middle of December. So looking at the chart here we are, we hit neutral and we're falling back into fear again. So this is just kind of that uncertainty. And a lot of this is driven by just the uncertainty behind the administration. What is Doge going to do? What is Trump going to do when it comes to executive orders and tariffs and all sorts of stuff? And there's just a lot of uncertainty. And as we all know, the market dislikes uncertainty. So that's kind of where we're at in the world we're living in right now. So we're getting kind of some bounces, but the market is still hitting all-time highs, but then selling off. So, which way is this going to go? I don't know, but swing traders' dream right now is the market is still kind of moving up, but we do have a lot of dips that kind of roll in here, and we're still kind of in fear territory. So still just not seeming right and solid in the market. And then looking at earnings this week, we've got Monday before open, we've got Domino's Pizza, and Warren Buffett has been adding to his Domino's Pizza position. He's one who looks for deals that are out there. Domino's Pizza is not one that I'm going to be buying into. I love Warren Buffett. I think obviously he's one of the greatest investors of our time. But Domino's Pizza just isn't one that appeals to me, so I'm not going to be buying into that. But he is. So perhaps it's something that you guys would be interested in as well. After close on Monday, Realty Income, and Realty Income is one of my big plays. Now, I've mentioned it before where I think Agree Realty is probably a better company based upon their portfolio. They do have some better companies that they work with and rent out to. So that's just my opinion on that. I think Realty Income is going to be perfectly fine. But if I had to pick between the two of them today, I would probably pick Agree Realty. I'm not in a position where I'm just going to dump O and buy Agree Realty, because O has been kind of beaten down and Agree Realty has been running a bit. So to me, buying Realty Income makes a little more sense just from a valuation standpoint. But again, I'm just kind of letting that one ride. We've got Zoom that's coming out on Monday after close as well. On Tuesday before open, we have Home Depot, and Home Depot is going to kind of give us a little bit of insight into the housing market. And we get Lowe's on Wednesday before open as well. So back-to-back days on these. And again, when I worked at Home Depot back in 2008 during the housing market crisis, you felt it, and we knew what was going on, and we had to really pivot our business entirely based upon how the market was going. There wasn't any more new home building going on. People were spending money on renovations instead. And, if anything, obviously everything was down. So this will give us a little bit of insight as to how the housing market is going when it comes to Home Depot and Lowe's. And then after close on Tuesday, we've got Lucid. And again, Lucid being one, I actually saw one on my drive down to South Carolina. And Lucid is one that's going to give us an insight as to how the EV market is doing here in the US. Obviously, they're not a huge player, so we're not going to get a huge indication as to what's going on. Tesla is obviously going to give us a much better perspective as to what is happening in the EV market in the US. But Lucid's still going to give us some insight as to how they're doing, and are they going to be able to survive, or are they going to be going under, and thereby opening up the market a little bit more to Tesla and some other EV manufacturers. And then on Wednesday before open, again, we've got Lowe's and we've got TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx is that retail space that kind of gives us an idea as to how consumer spending is doing. And then, of course, the big one after close on Wednesday is NVIDIA. We also get CRM, Snowflake, AI. So we get a few AI indications as to what's going on at Marathon also when it comes to cryptocurrency. So, but of course, NVIDIA is the really big one that we're going to be paying attention to. How is it looking going forward? What is their forecast going to be? Did we still see a lot of investment going on into the AI space and into chips, or have people kind of backed off after DeepSeek and other things that have been going on? What is their insight going to tell us? And then there's not a ton for the rest of the week after that. Of course, the real big one's going to be NVIDIA. And then Thursday morning before open, we have TD Bank. After close, we're going to have Rocket Lab, Dell. So a couple of smaller players in the AI space that are going to be coming out. Maybe give us a little more insight as to how the smaller players are doing and how they're going to be moving forward. Dell has been one that's been on the move lately as well, so that could be one that people pay attention to. And then Friday before open, we have Fubo, which is a big one that a lot of smaller retail investors are getting into, thinking about the future of when it comes to sports, entertainment, and things like that, and how that's going to be playing when it comes to people viewing that. And then from the macro environment standpoint, we do have a few Fed members speaking this week. Nothing is scheduled for Monday, but Tuesday we do have the Dallas Fed president coming out. We have the Fed vice chair coming out as well later in the morning. And then we have the Richmond Fed president coming out as well later in that day. On Wednesday, we get new home sales. Now, of course, new home sales is also going to be falling on the same day that Lowe's has their earnings coming out. So we'll have Home Depot the day before and then Lowe's and new home sales coming out. So we'll get a pretty good view as to how the housing market is doing come Wednesday mid-morning. Then as usual on Thursday, we've got the initial jobless claims and we have pending home sales coming out as well. So a good indication as to what's going on in the housing market for this entire week. And then we also have a few more Fed members speaking on Wednesday late morning and afternoon. Then Friday, we have the personal income and personal spending numbers that are going to be coming out. Those there, obviously, when I was talking about TJ Maxx giving us an indication as to how the consumer is doing, these here as well are going to give us an indication as to, hey, how is income doing and how is personal spending doing? Because if people aren't spending any money, that means that the velocity of money is slowing down, and that is not good either. Now, we do have a lower forecast, but typically in January, you see a 0.7%. That's going to be the holiday spending, and then you come back down to earth with a post-holiday no spending, and people kind of like, all right, we need to not spend anything in January, so we'll see if we come in line with this 0.2 or if it's going to be a little bit lower or maybe even higher. And then, of course, as I said, we've got the PCE numbers coming out on Friday morning at 8:30 a.m. as well. And those PCE numbers are going to give us that indication. CPI came in hot, so the market did not like that. So let's see if PCE follows suit or if that can kind of reverse that trend and keep us giving the indication that inflation is not going to be as bad as we think. So that's basically it for what we have for the week this week. Again, there could be some uncertainty. Let's see if Friday's sell-off is going to continue into this week. Maybe we get the turnaround with NVIDIA, or maybe we turn around and then sell off at NVIDIA. Again, I'm not one who's going to try and predict the market. I have no idea. I just kind of base my investing strategy as a long-term investor. If I see opportunities to buy, I will buy them. I'm not really a big seller. I did sell McDonald's last week, but the growth on that, the reason I had it was for dividends for long term, and the dividend growth on it wasn't as good. And I have 10 other positions that are giving me much better dividend growth. So I'm keeping those. And for when it comes to the yield, I've got SCHD and I've got my REITs, BDCs, and MLPs. So I have those that are going to be giving me that higher yield. Now, granted, those are going to be non-qualified dividends, but it doesn't matter to me because eventually get to the point where those are still going to be taxed at a much lower rate. So it's not going to really matter. And I'm still just going to utilize those as that income. So for that, I have those. And then again, I'm looking for that dividend growth from some other plays like Visa, Amex, MasterCard, Home Depot, some plays like those. But I will get to a full breakdown on my entire portfolio. Again, I know I owe you guys an update on all of that. And I will be trying with some time, if I can actually get it, to get out there, you guys, a full Tesla breakdown when it comes to my valuation model and all of that, and my price targets for the next 10 years. Again, no promise on timing on that one there, but it is on my radar to get done for you guys. So otherwise, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the support. Have a great one.